The graduate student who humiliated me in front of the entire lecture hall didn't recognize me when I returned to campus 10 years later as the department's new chair. The first day of organic crisis had been a nightmare. As a first-generation college student working 2 jobs to afford tuition, I'd rushed to class directly from my overnight hospital cafeteria shift. Exhausted and still in my food service uniform, I'd slipped into the back row of the massive lecture hall 5 minutes late. The teaching assistant, a tall, immaculately dressed grad student named Marcus, had immediately stopped his introduction to stare at me. "Perhaps this isn't the McDonald's you are looking for," he'd said, his voice dripping with disdain. 200 students had turned to look at me, many laughing at my cafeteria uniform. I am enrolled in this class," I'd stammered, clutching my textbook. "Well, in this department we prioritize punctuality and professionalism," he'd responded. "Some of us are actually serious about careers in science." Face burning, I'd remained in my seat for the entire lecture, despite wanting desperately to leave. After class, I'd approached the course professor, Dr. Winters, to apologize for the disruption. To my surprise, she'd been incredibly kind. "Don't mind Marcus," she'd said. "He comes from family money and has never worked a real job. Your enrollment information says you are working while studying full-time. That's far more impressive than showing up in designer clothes." Dr. Winters became my mentor, helping me secure research opportunities and scholarships that eventually allowed me to quit one of my jobs. I graduated with honors, completed my PhD at Stanford, conducted postdoctoral research at MIT, and built a research program focused on developing affordable medications for neglected diseases. 10 years after that humiliating first day, I returned to my alma mater, not as a student, but as the newly appointed chair of the Canish department. During my first week, I scheduled individual meetings with all faculty and continuing graduate instructors. When I arrived at my 4th appointment of the day, I found a familiar face waiting outside my office. Marcus had evidently never left academia. Now approaching 40, he was still a late-stage doctoral candidate, having spent nearly 15 years working on a dissertation that never seemed to reach completion. His designer clothes had been replaced with a shabby tweed jacket, and his once confident posture was now hunched with anxiety. "Dr. Rivera," he said, extending his hand nervously, "it's an honor to meet you. Your research on accessible pharmaceuticals is groundbreaking." I smiled, shaking his hand firmly. "Please come in." As we sat down in my office, the same office that once belonged to Dr. Winters before her retirement. I saw him glance anxiously at the stack of teaching evaluations on my desk. "Marcus," I said calmly, "I've been reviewing the graduate instructor assessments and I've noticed a concerning pattern in your student feedback." His face paled. "I can explain multiple comments about creating a hostile learning environment, particularly for working students and those from disadvantaged backgrounds. The standards of the department reflect our values," I finished for him, "and our values include respect, inclusivity, and recognizing that our students take many different paths to arrive in our classrooms." Recognition slowly dawned in his eyes as he studied my face. "Wait, were you the student in the cafeteria uniform you mocked 10 years ago?" "Yes," he looked like he might be sick. I could have fired him on the spot. The teaching evaluation certainly justified it. Instead, I slid a folder across the desk. "This is information about our department's new teaching mentor program. You'll be paired with Professor Diaz, who has won the university's Teaching Excellence Award 3 years running." "You are not terminating my position?" he asked, bewildered. "I believe in second chances, Marcus. I also believe people can grow when given the right support and clear expectations." I leaned forward slightly, but make no mistake, this is your second chance, not your third. 6 months later, Marcus submitted his completed dissertation. His teaching evaluations showed marked improvement, with several students specifically noting his patience with those who arrived late due to work commitments. Sometimes the most powerful position isn't the one that allows you to punish others for their mistakes, it's the one that allows you to help them become better than they were.